Okay, I'm going to call to order the work session for the Parks and Community Services Committee on Wednesday, June 8th. And the purpose of this meeting, and Jen, we don't need to have public comment.
I didn't think about putting it on there. I have not.
But we don't have it. Okay. So there's no public comment. So we will go ahead to the one purpose of our meeting is to have a preliminary discussion on our first round of grant amounts by the committees. And we added this meeting as a result of some issues that we had last year where we didn't feel like we had enough time to discuss the numbers and some rationale for why people gave certain numbers. And so this is our first time we've had this additional meeting, and just want to keep that in mind, that it is an initial meeting, and just to kind of go over recommendations. No decisions are made today.
And since we've never done this before, I have a question.
Okay.
So
I hope I can have an answer.
So if we choose, like, can I change one of my ask or my recommendations?
These are preliminary. Yep, right.
That's what I wanted to make.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I was hoping that Anita would join us, because she does have one that I think we need to discuss with the Sea Turtles Forever, with her zero. So, I thought a lot about how we approach this. I don't know if we want to go organization by organization, or do I want to should I just open it up to observations and discussions? How would the committee like to proceed?
I was thinking we might just go one by one.
Okay.
Anyway, that's what I thought.
Does that sound good to the rest of the committee?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start in reverse alphabetical order.
Like that.
Cannon Beach Arts Association.
No, reverse. So Wildlife Center is going to be first.
Oh,
Just because.
reverse order.
Reverse order, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, if that's okay.
No, that's fine.
Okay, so Wildlife Center of the North Coast requested 10,000. And the average by the committee is $7,551.25. And one thing that I probably want to disclose before we have the discussion on any of this is I do not give anybody 100% of the ask, because there's such a variance, and this has gotten worse every year, between what people ask and what we're budgeted for. And so I take some off the top of each organization. And I did notice this year, probably more than normal, there were a number of people that gave 100% of the ask, which is fine. That's just my approach. So I'll go ahead and open it up for discussion on the Wildlife Association.
So I would like to change mine on that.
Okay.
I would like to put in 7,000 for the Wildlife Center instead of 5,000, and then take 2,000 out of Classic Community Action.
Is that just to get in line more, because that would be very consistent with everybody?
Well, I generally give, historically I've usually done more for them, but it was really difficult to kind of balance the needs of people versus the arts versus the environment. And so I, for whatever reason, I made them a little lower this year than I normally do, and I wanted to change that.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part of this process, is the balancing between those, just like you said, those three needs of kind of human need, environmental need, arts.
I actually had a really hard time with that. I couldn't pick a need that was greatest to focus on.
Right.
So consequently, what I did was pretty much treat everybody about the same through my process. And I think that's in a couple of places made some of my numbers look a little bit wrong, and I probably want some changes. Excuse me.
So Jen, do you have the spreadsheet up and made the change? So now what's,
Our schedule is that if anyone want to make recommendation changes to their numbers, they have to let me know by noon on the 9th, which is tomorrow, or we can do it right here. I have the spreadsheet up. So
okay,
with the change you just made for North Coast or for Wildlife Center.
Safari sounds fun.
Yeah,
but-
their average now is $7,951.25.
okay, great. Betty, do you have anything to add to that discussion on the Wildlife Center specifically?
Well, I found out more about them this year, and I really like that organization, and they're so vital. It is hard to decide animals or human. I mean, we're all animals, but you know, I agree with you. It's really hard to, I wish we had more money to give because all these organizations are amazing.
Yes, that's true. Okay, are we ready to go on to the Tolwan Art Colony?
I am.
Okay. So anybody wanna? They requested 22,200 and the average right now of the committee is $12,277.25. Any discussion on any of that?
I'm fine with that.
Betty?
No, I'm good with what I gave. I think everybody, I mean, I think it all looks good to me.
Les?
No, I don't think I want to change anything. I was just comparing this average back to last year's. It's quite a bit higher than last year's. It's double.
Yeah. But what, do you have what their ask was? Do you have that right in front of you?
Mhm.
Spreadsheet? What was their ask last year?
Their ass.
Oh, last year.
Last year.
I could pull it up easily.
No, that's okay.
I don't have that in front.
That's,
But it was
I think
in,
it was higher last year, quite a
Yeah.
bit higher last year.
okay, good.
But Jen can,
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. So
I was gonna get all those open, but
I know I forgot to.
I did too, but anyway.
Can pull it up now. Jen's looking.
So last year, Tolovana Arts Colony asked for 23,200
Oh,
and they received 6,390.
okay. So,
oh, and that was
That's
the
the-
issue because like
Yeah.
one committee member
that's
had
right.
0 in their column.
Yeah.
But I thought they asked for more than that last year. That's good to know. Thanks,
Yeah.
Jen.
Okay, we're okay to go on with the Seaside Hall?
Yeah.
So they requested 1,500 and their average ask right now, or their average recommendation is 1,347.50. So that seems pretty good. Everybody okay with that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say the reason I chose to give them the full amount was they consistently don't ask for much.
Mhm.
And it's always, to me, a good project, something that they need for their building. And it's never, to me, unreasonable. And that's why I chose.
That's kind of the way I tend to approach it. And I have to say that where in a lot of mine, I actually suggested whatever they requested, if, you know, which is kind of different from what you're doing. And I'd like to continue to think about whether my strategy is right or not. But in that case, I did. I like the way they approach their
Very specific.
very specific.
Not a whole lot.
Mhm. Yeah, and they do good work.
Yeah, they do great work.
Yep. Betty, anything on that? Hey, Anita, hi.
I know Anita just joined us. I
Good.
agree with the group. When people ask for very little and I see the work they're doing, it's difficult for me not to, you know, if I can give them the whole amount, but I understand the logic of giving everybody a little less. But I don't know. It's very subjective, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, one solution to that is, to get more money from the city, though, even though that our grant program is a very robust amount compared
Yes.
to
Oh, it's
our
amazing.
population and the needs. The other thing is somehow to convince the people that are asking to be a little more realistic and very project specific. Because I think the ones that are easy to give full amounts to are ones that have a very specific and reasonable request. And again, I don't know how, I wish we could come up with a solution to that, but it seems to be an issue every
Yeah,
time.
I agree with that. If they detail what their needs are, it's much easier to help them out,
Right. And if it's project specific,
Yes, yes.
plus then it's easier for them to evaluate their grant because they've got a physical project. Okay, so if we're okay with Seaside Hall, we'll go on to the harbor. They requested $10,000 and the recommended average right now is $7,451.25. Does anybody have any
I'm fine with that.
questions, comments?
I'm fine with that.
I think that's good.
Betty?
No, I don't have any comment. I guess I gave the least, but there was so many other people that I wanted to give some to, so, well.
Okay.
Mhm.
And Anita, do you have any comments on the harbor?
I don't. I want to apologize for being late. Very, very sorry. So
That's okay.
I'm just trying to get my mind around where you guys are at. I don't have anything on the
Okay.
harbor right now.
Okay, so what we, the approach we're taking is we went in reverse alphabetical order and we're looking at each other's recommendations and deciding whether or not we're okay with those numbers in terms of preliminary numbers. Plus keeping in mind that if you want to make any specific changes that we don't discuss in today's meeting, you have until 9 a.m. tomorrow morning
He said noon.
or noon tomorrow morning.
But 9 a.m. would work too.
9 a.m. would work too. Yeah.
That'd make it easier for everybody.
Noon, because that way I can put the packet out.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
so any questions on the process, Anita?
No. Thank you.
Okay. So next for,
So could,
oh,
just, Anita, just because I was curious. So when we did the wildlife and then Tovana, you were the highest amount nominee, and I just wondered if you wanted to think about that or say anything, just because that stood out.
Yeah. My thought process going into this was being very, very supportive to the organizations that do the most for the larger amounts of people, I guess. And just, I was really impressed with the wildlife, his presentation, because I kind of went back and forth about the full amount or not. Tolavana Arts to me is probably one of the biggest standout organizations that is doing things that help the greater community. And so I just felt I'm very, very supportive of concerts in the park, some of the events. They had the putts last night. And I just am very supportive of that organization and just felt that, to me, keeping the money and supporting those organizations in town are kind of my priority. And then I will just speak a moment on, I agree with Betty that for some of the smaller amounts, to me, and it's specific to what they're asking money for, I felt like they should just have that. So that's kind of my thought process in how I distributed the money.
okay, does that answer?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to give you a chance to.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Les. Okay, so next up the list, we have the Cannon Beach Academy. They requested 18,000 and their average is $11,491.25. Any questions or comments on that organization and their grant request?
No.
Oh, I'm good.
Les?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Eddie, you okay?
Good.
Okay. Now remember, if you're on Zoom and you're shaking your head, or even here in the audience, I think we tend to shake our heads, that we need to make sure we're giving verbal answers.
Okay.
Thank you. Thumbs up's not going to cut it today. Okay, so then next we have the Sunset Park and Recreation Foundation. They requested 3,000 and the average recommendation is $2,535. Any questions, comments on that organization and their request and their average?
I'm good with it.
I'm good.
I'm good with it.
Les?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay. Moving up to the South County Food Bank. They requested $4,000 and their average is $2,860. Questions or comments on that amount?
No.
Nope.
I had a comment. When I was reading these grants, they, excuse me, they sent out a ask for the community to directly support them. So I thought that, I like that idea of getting money from other people, but that's why I gave them a lower amount, because I thought we're going to be sending, and maybe other people are going to be sending in money, and it might cover that $4,000. So that's why, that was my logic on the $2,000.
Okay.
So just as a point of education, when the regional food bank has a money drive, like they did a month or so ago, where they did a mailing to the whole county, the way that they distribute those among all of the pantries in the county is they prorate it by the population of the communities. So it's definitely a prorated thing. And the other thing I want to say is South County and Cannon Beach Food Pantry really work closely together in terms of sharing resources. If they get a whole bunch of something, they share. If we get a whole bunch of something, we share. And it's a really good cohesive relationship. And so I just, so when we're giving money to South County, sometimes that does benefit the Cannon Beach residents as well, and vice versa.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so next one on the list is Sea Turtles Forever. They requested $10,000 and the average recommendation is $1,802.23. And I think I can speak for all of us in the fact that this one was a tough one.
Yes.
With the precedent set by the not approved budget, but recommended budget to make them a line item for $10,000.
Yes.
And I kind of thought maybe that's why we were seeing Bruce in the building. I mean, you've been in the building, but in the room.
I always come to your meeting.
Yeah, I know. Special.
I don't need to sit down this for just a second, but the direction that council took was to put $10,000 in this year's budget as a line item, but that is not considered a precedent. And between now and the next budget, we will discuss what criteria it takes for something to become a line item.
But I think it set a precedent because you gave, even though it hasn't been approved, we took an organization that's asking for a community grant. And then they also asked for the same amount has a line item in the city budget.
Okay. I'm just saying that council line item part, said, okay, we'll do it this year, but it's not a continuing it thing.
Right.
And we'll have the other discussions about, what it takes to become
Right.
a line item. So I don't know if that would necessarily set a precedent, but that was just the way that it came down.
But so it's fairly certain that they will receive funding from the city this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
$10,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this one where obviously the committee went two different totally directions, and I'll make a few comments on my thinking, which was
Thank you.
what really was the maximum of what they were asking of us once he reduced it to $4,000. This year, I would like to see Sea Turtle step up and do something in a way that stimulates other cities on the coast. And I kind of felt like I heard that logic in the counselors' discussions when they thought, well, we should do this, because it may not be a precedent, but it's very different the way this all rolled out. So I was thinking that give them the best chance they could to do this year the way that he described. And then much like what the cities kind of said, well, then let's see what comes out of it. And, maybe that will give us some sense of whether this is something we want to continue or not. But so that's what my rationale was to
Do the 4,000.
do the big number rather than the small. But it was very confusing.
Yeah, my rationale was if they didn't get, I thought it was iffy whether they were going to get that 10,000 from the city. And I didn't want them to be left with nothing because they do so much for our beaches. So I just said, well, if that's what he wants, I'm going to give it to him. And then next year we'll reevaluate. But I can't see them doing as much work as they're doing here with no city input. So that was my rationale.
Well, and I would have given them something except for the fact that they did become a line item budget recipient of $10,000, which is what they asked for. And Mark, and I know him personally, seemed rather embarrassed by that amount. And I'm not quite sure how it went to the city and the parks, but I just felt like if they were getting the money from the city that they requested, and it was more than what Mark would have ever asked for, that should have been good enough. Hence my no money from the parks community grants.
Great. And I appreciate that, Anita.
Mhm.
So are we okay with the average?
I am. I mean, I think it's an honest representation of the.
But how is that going to be viewed though? Is that they're a line item $10,000 from the city, and then the parks is also giving them money? I mean, I'm not sure how that's going to come across to other organizations, or whether that's something that has ever been done before.
Never.
Yeah, it hasn't been done before, but I think one thing we need to keep in mind is when we take the average, they ask for 10,000, they're getting from us, they're getting $1,802.23. So just the difference between their ask and our average, I think might help to explain it.
Right. But I guess I'm going to say that I feel like they asked for 10,000 and they're getting that from the city. So that should be taken care of. And that they're getting more than what they asked for if the Parks Department gives them even a fraction of what they requested.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I love that organization. Don't get me wrong.
No, I know.
I'm just looking more at, the city's giving them money and the Parks Department is giving them money, and how that's going to come across to other organizations. It's like a double dipping almost.
And I tried to think about it. It could have been any one of these organizations that decided to go to the city and ask. So I don't think it's a reflection on how we value the organization. It's just the kind of the way it was handled.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
There is another is it called the TAC or something like that? Another, and some of our groups ask for money from both those groups, right?
Right, yeah, with completely different criteria.
Okay, okay.
You know, the TAC
Well,
grants
that's not-
are for,
that's-
are more
sorry.
for, the TAC grants are more for events that are gonna put the term heads and beds. Heads and heads and beds. And thought that sounded strange. And a lot of, and some of these organizations do have those events that qualify for that funding. You know, I personally have thought for a long time that that's what Sea Turtles Forever should do, is have some big beach cleanup that brings people from outside of the community and creates heads and beds and uses TAC money for that.
Yeah, a couple different events even.
Right, yeah.
But
Yeah,
isn't that the parks music thing? Don't they get money from TAC?
Tolvana Arts Colony,
It depends on what they apply for that year.
right. They have in the past, I'm not sure. But
They apply for Get Lit.
Yeah, so Get Lit does that. Get Lit's been canceled the last couple of years.
Right.
Taliban, Andrew's last ask from TAC was not for an event. It was to fix up the Tolvana Arts Colony building, or the Tolvana Hall.
Right,
So it was to improve the product that would bring in tourism. So it just depends on what events they're
Right.
applying for that year.
yeah.
This is interesting. So I was looking at the grant history spreadsheet to see, is the Cannon Beach Library, does it receive anything?
They're a
from this?
line item.
They are a line
They
item.
have
So,
been- They have been since their last,
so I was looking on the history spreadsheet. So they applied for community grants up until fiscal year 2014 and 15. Does
And
that
then-
happen to coincide when they became, so was there a precedent there
well, there were,
that we should consider?
there were some other nonprofits too that became line items.
That was the only one I'm,
Right, yeah, that's the only one that's still in existence,
so,
And the other one was the
the Children's Center, right?
so does, back to more like what Anita is saying, are we ignoring a precedent? I mean, obviously I did because I said we should
Right,
support it, but is there already something that says, and we should, all these organizations should understand if they do decide they want to approach the city, then they should not come to us at the same time. And I think we're the group that probably ought to discuss it,
yeah, that's a good point.
because I wasn't thinking along those lines at all.
And I
I
think,
I wasn't either, because I didn't know whether the city was really going to give them money.
Well, and that's true too.
Yeah.
You would hate to make them nothing if
Right.
the city weren't going to support them, but now that we know they are, at least for this 1 year.
Yeah,
yes, that's a good point.
I'm willing to change my amount, especially, I know there's I could add it to other people. So if we are feeling strongly about cutting back on what we give them, I'm fine with that. As long as I know they're going to get some from the city.
So do you want to make that change now, or do you want to think on it and send it to Jen by tomorrow? Because remember, if you take away from Sea Turtles, you got to add it to somebody else.
Right, exactly. I think what I'll do is just think of it for the next few minutes and I'll give you an answer.
Okay,
Okay.
So, okay.
Les, did you want to say something?
Well, I'm just thinking, so I was kind of going down a path that said, okay, so we kind of all agree that if you get funding as a line item, you should not get funding from the committee, which would mean that all of us that put anything over zero should change our number. And I'm willing to do that as long as a group, we all feel like that's the right thing to do.
So this is a work session, not a regular meeting.
Right.
And so I'm not sure we can Jen, I might need your help on this
You can reach a consensus.
consensus,
You can
right?
have a consensus and then vote on it at another meeting if you want to set that as an official policy.
Okay, so at our meeting next week, we could have that on the agenda
Yeah,
before we make.
Before we vote.
because community grants is an item anyway, so at the
Right.
beginning of that, you guys can make your motion so that way you have it recorded. And then that's when you guys will continue your discussion and about your recommendations.
Okay. So do we have a consensus right now?
Well, I have one more question. How does that, we have to turn these papers, this final papers in tomorrow, so this is kind of a tricky situation then. If I give them 0, then I don't know. I don't know quite what to do here.
You just add it to somebody else.
Yeah, I know. I could do that, but I mean, just if we're in consensus that we're not going to give them anything, I don't feel horrible giving them nothing.
Well, they're getting $10,000 from the city. They're getting exactly what they requested.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So I'm happy to change mine.
And one of the things I can do if you guys want is when we're done with this meeting, if you want to take a little bit more time to play with your numbers, I'll send the spreadsheet out as it is with the averages so you can kind of play with your numbers and see how it does that, if that would help.
Yeah, I think,
Probably would be good.
yeah. Yeah, thank you.
And then just send me your information by noon and then I'll incorporate everyone's changes into our document that'll go in the packet.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that, Jen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good discussion.
Yeah, I think as long as the committee has reached a consensus that it makes a difference, whether it's a line item or not, I'm perfectly happy reallocating my recommendation, and I can do that.
And then that sends a message
I
to our
agree.
city council also.
Yes.
Don't mess with our program. Oh, are we being recorded? Okay. Anything else on sea turtles? Okay, next we have the Restoration House, and they requested 9,500, and their average is $6,478.75. Any questions or discussion on that one?
No.
I'm fine with that.
I'm good.
Ready?
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I am too, and that's very close to what they got last year.
Okay. And then we will, North Coast Food Web, they requested 3,000 and their average is $2,435.
I'm fine with that.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the Helping Hands Reentry Outreach Center requested 15,000 and they're getting $7,726.25. The average is that amount. Any questions, comments on that one?
Well, I gave the lowest, as you probably noticed, and I guess I got to the point at looking over their P&Ls that I was just having more questions than I knew what to do with, and I felt like I was starting to audit. And then I just decided that, they have several other locations and things going on, and there's so many needy groups. And so I tried to just focus on the ones that are particular to Clatsop County. And that was just how the budget played out. So was my amount reasoning.
Okay, thank you, Nita. Anybody else? Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay. Okay, thanks. And then next we have the Clatsop Community Action requested 15,000 and the average preliminary recommendation is $8,676.25.
And I changed mine on that one, so it might be a little lower than.
Oh, that's right.
Yep, so Clatsop Community Actions average is $8,276.25.
But now you got an extra 500. Stacy.
I do have an extra to play with.
Yeah. Okay, any questions, comments on that one?
I'm good with that.
I'm too.
Good.
Okay, thank you. And then we have the CASA program. And they requested 4,000 and their preliminary average is $3,610. Everybody okay with that?
I'm good with that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good program.
Anita, did we hear from you?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then we have the the Cannon Beach History Center Museum requested 1,200 and their average preliminary is $1,134.
I'm good with that.
I'm good with
Okay.
that.
Well, I just have one question. When groups are asking for that amount of money and then we just kind of lower it for what they're asking and it's a specific request, I kind of feel like that's a little bit of a, what's the word? If it was me, I would question, well, you just gave me, like $500 less than I requested. I would want to know why that, they didn't get the full amount. And I'm good with the average component of how this all works, but when it is smaller amounts like that, and in particularly it's a Cannon Beach organization, I feel like we should 100% support that. But that's just me.
So Anita, at the very beginning of the meeting, when you weren't here, I explained to the group that because of the variance between the total amount asked and the amount we're given to dole out, I never give 100% to any organization. And it's $66 less than what they requested.
Right. So that's, to me, it's $66. We couldn't give them the $66.
Well, I just feel like when people apply for grants, they know they're probably not going to get their full ask.
Absolutely, when they're asking for, $10,000, $20,000, but $1,200 to me, and this is a Cannon Beach organization, beloved Cannon Beach organization, to short them $66 just doesn't seem right.
Yeah. I also thought that this project is going to be helping people worldwide. If you can just find out, students can find out about the different things. So I thought it was really an outreach program. So that's why I thought it was really a valuable ask. So
Yes.
Well, I think all of them are valuable. That's why we had the chance to talk to them. And they all deserve our support. But the fact is, if we just doled out the money equally, everybody would have gotten about 60% if I did the math right.
Right. Yeah.
So obviously, we can't be expected to fully fund anything.
Yeah.
I say that, but for the smaller ones, I actually did recommend the full amount, but I did it more because I would like to see some of the larger grant requesters get more realistic.
Yeah, I think,
It's kind of a backhanded way to get around to it, but that's the way I feel about it.
yeah,
I agree.
I think we have consensus on that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yes.
Okay, we okay to move on or?
Yes, I'm fine.
I'm good.
Okay. And then we have the Cannon Beach Chorus. They requested 1,250 and their average is $1,181.25.
I'm good with that.
I'm
Okay.
good with that.
Yeah, I am too.
Anita?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then last we have the Cannon Beach Arts Association. They requested 28,519 and their average preliminary number is $11,392.77.
So I was the lowest of the recommended amounts and I kind of already explained how I got to the number I've got just because they were the largest requestor. And I did have a few concerns about some of their specifics. I think probably that number for me will go up when I reallocate some of the money that I had suggested for sea turtles.
Okay.
I'm fine with that number.
I'm
Okay.
good. I'm good.
Eddie?
I had questions about some, I had some harsh questions. They weren't really answered, but I did give them I guess I gave them the largest amount of money just because I know they've been around a long time and done a lot for our community. So I wanted to support them. So anyway,
And you didn't give the lowest amount.
no, I gave the largest. I
Oh,
think.
largest, I'm sorry. You did say largest, okay.
Yeah.
Anita, any comments on the Arts Association?
Not really. I guess just as
Okay.
an aside, I just was kind of when the presenter, and I don't remember her name, was saying how they had a bookkeeper that left them with a large Visa bill, and I just hope that they have more controls over their finances. I was
Yeah, and
a little shocked by that, but
right, and I've been associated with that organization, and they definitely have some better controls. I worked with them a little bit on that, just to, yeah. And it was a volunteer that, it wasn't a paid staff member that did that, so.
Huh.
Yeah,
yeah,
so, yeah, I think they learned, as a lot of nonprofits learned things the hard way sometimes.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Okay, so our next steps are, Jen's going to send us, thank you, Jen, an updated spreadsheet with everyone's recommendations, and then we're going to make our changes. And if we could, just to help her out, get them to her as soon as we can, that would help the whole situation.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick with mine, Jen, so thank you.
No problem.
I have my changes if you want to have them now, or I can just call you or talk to you right now or whatever.
I can plug them in now if you want. I just sent the email out for everyone else, so if you want to give me yours, I'll do it real quick.
Okay, so Clatsop Community Action, instead of 7,000, I'm going to do 8,000. Restoration House, instead of, what did I put? Oh, shoots. I'm going to put, wait, what did I have on there?
You have 5,000.
Oh, okay, I'm going to put 6 on there. And then on the South County Community Food Bank, I'm going to put 3. And the harbor, I'm going to put 6.
Okay, so you're 4,000 over now.
What? Oh,
But
I'm
she's
sorry.
taking out sea turtles.
Oh, so take out sea turtles. Okay, there we go. Now you're even.
Yeah, I'm going to do 0 on sea turtles.
Okay.
And I'll give you my change. I'm taking my 500 out of sea turtles and adding it to Wildlife Center of the North Coast.
Okay. All right.
So then are you going to resend?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, anything else on community grants? I think that was a good, worthwhile discussion. So thank you, everyone.
Yes.
And then last on the agenda, we have good of the order. And I just want to say thanks to the people that came out and helped with broom busters. I think we got everything but one little piece of Scotch broom that we couldn't safely get to on the westerly side of the estuary. And then we got everything at Nacoos and had a good time and didn't get too wet, and no lives were spared. So successful event.
Yeah.
But now it seems like whenever you go to one of those kinds of events, and everywhere you go, you see Scotch broom.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Barb.
Yeah.
I see it all over now. Yes.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
And you think, why can't people get rid of this stuff?
No, geez.
Yeah, but thank you for that. Also just wanted to clarify with everyone that we're going to do our 12 days evaluation and our list of what we did, how we prepared for what we were responsible for in our July meeting. So you've got a little bit of time to get that ready, because you remember you need to have it a week before for the packets. And then one of the emphases will be for the June meeting is to try to get the heritage tree stuff a little more and down, try to get that going.
I have a question on that heritage tree. I have Les and I worked on some forms together way back, and
Yeah.
is that what you want us to send in to Jen? All that work we did last year?
I think we have all of it. Well, Anita wasn't on the committee.
I
At
did
that point.
send it to you, Barb, when you came on as chair, but it hasn't been posted on any of our meetings.
It's not in any packet?
No,
I don't actually think it ever did.
Okay.
never made
So
it.
yeah, that should be included in the packet then.
Yeah, if you can go and send it to me, that'd be great, and I'll include it.
And
Okay, sure will.
remember, you've got till tomorrow to do that, but.
Oh, for the packet?
That's right, for the packet,
For next week.
for next week.
Okay, right. Well, I'll do that, and Les, I'll call you later and we can talk about it, okay?
Okay.
Okay, anybody else have anything for good of the order?
No?
Thank you. I thought this was really helpful today.
Yeah,
Yes, it was.
That's great. Thank
yeah. Thanks, everyone, and the meeting is adjourned.
Everybody have a great day.
You too.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, thanks, Jen.
That was a good meeting.
Jen.
Very helpful.
Yeah, I think it's.
Before anybody leaves, would you please look at Trevor's hat?